All right. So welcome everybody to the How to Physician series. My name is Donna Coriel. I'm coming in once again, as I do at this point, on a weekly basis to bring you another installment of amazing physicians that are doing some incredible things across social media that you need to know about. And this week is no different. I'm really excited actually to bring you this really talented and motivating physician duo who my husband and I know personally and who have also helped us personally in our investment portfolio. So this is, once again, the How to Physician series. This is episode number 11 of 12, and it's an hour in which physicians hop on to teach you something outside of the clinical office and the clinical medical sphere. Today, we are going to actually hear from, and I prepared this because I thought it was only going to be one half of the fabulous duo called Semi-Retired MD, but I am so excited that it's both of them, the husband and wife team, Letty and Kenji, who are semi-retired MD. I didn't have time to go back and fix it, but I can thankfully say it out loud. So very excited to be welcoming them. And they are going to talk about lowering taxes by owning cash flowing rentals. So if you are a physician who is considering doing this, they are actually opening up a course that they only do a few times a year. And I'm not only excited to have SoMeDocs be an affiliate for this, but we're also throwing in something really exciting that I'm going to announce at the end to sweeten the deal. All right, before we bring Letty and Kenji up on the stage, I want to give a shout out to SoMeDocs member, Dr. Gregory Corradino. He's a neurosurgeon who has over 30 years experience in cervical, lumbar, and peripheral nerve surgery with a special interest in minimally invasive procedure. And he's our newest member to join. And I know that he's got a book coming out. I don't know the title off the top of my head, but I know that he's going to share it with the SoMeDocs community. So welcome, Dr. Corradino. Always exciting to see new members signing up daily. I just randomly picked someone that was new. If you want to learn more about money matters and you're a physician, check out Dr. Visha Spath. I hope I said that right, in the How to Physician series. She talks about how to annihilate debt with repayment and budgeting strategies. And we've got an amazing guy we also know coming on Tuesday night for our Even Doctors Need Life Lesson series. We've got Joe Fairless coming on. He's going to talk about the 3-step process for accomplishing more. So I'm super excited. I know Joe personally. We've been in the city. We've met him pre-COVID, him and his wife, and he's great. All right, guys. So again, Dr. Letizia Alto is a board-certified family physician and one half of the dual physician company called Semi-Retired MD. I'm going to let them introduce themselves because I've unfortunately not included Kenji, and he's here. So very exciting. So without further ado, Kenny and Letty, the stage is yours.
Hey everyone, I'm Letizia and this is Kenji. And Kenji's actually internal medicine trained, but we're both hospitalists. So thanks, Dana, for having us here. We're really excited to talk about cash flowing rentals and how to lower your taxes using cash flowing rentals. It's actually something we've been doing ourselves for 6 years. We started investing in small duplexes and single family homes about 6 years ago and have grown our portfolio now actually up to 86 units and maximized our tax savings along the way. We actually don't pay income taxes, and we do that through our real estate portfolio.
Yeah. I think one of the things that, one of the reasons why we, got into this was because, we saw that, we had certain goals in our life, as I'm sure many of you do. We realized that in order to achieve those goals, and a lot of those goals entailed, having the freedom to travel, having the freedom to spend time with our kids, having the freedom to, cut back on work if we needed to, right, and explore other interests. In order for us to do that, we realized that, we had to do something different. And that's the reason why we started investing in cash flowing rentals. And we'll talk about why we chose that.
Yeah, and we did it on the side, actually. Initially, we were both working and had Kenji actually cut back in medicine. So there's a long story behind all this, but we want to make sure we, go through our content. So we'll start.
Okay. Yeah. So let's get started. We'll start right here. Okay.
So the title of this presentation is How to Lower Your Taxes with Cash Flowing Rentals. And some of the things we're going to talk about include what is cash flow, because I know it's probably a new concept to some of you, and why cash flow from rental properties is actually usually tax-free, and we'll show you how that actually happens in real life. And then we're going to cover how to lower your effective tax rate using your tax-free cash flow. And then finally, how you can earn tax-free cash flow and at the same time even pay zero in income taxes on your clinical income by achieving something called real estate professional tax status. Just a quick disclaimer, we are not accountants, we're not lawyers, we're not asset protection companies or anything like that. So, if you have questions, ask your professionals, and we're not here giving financial advice at all. And then our conflicts of interest are that we run a course called Zero to Freedom through Cash Flowing Rentals, where we train physicians how to invest in their own real estate. And we also run a blog and a podcast, all of which are about real estate.
All right, so let's talk about cash flow and what it is for those who don't know. And so what cash flow is it's the amount of money you put in your pocket after all your expenses are paid. So in the context of real estate, you have a rental property and the tenants are paying rent, and then you subtract out all the expenses, including the mortgage payment, and whatever's left over is the cash flow. And so one of the key concepts here that I really want everybody to kind of take home is that if your property doesn't cash flow, it's not an asset, it's a liability. And if you read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, what Robert Kiyosaki says in that book and what he teaches, and I think it's one of the key lessons, is what you want to do is you want to accumulate assets and you want to get rid of liabilities. And so, not every rental property out there is made equal, right? You created equal. You have to basically identify the rental properties that are going to cash flow, and then invest in those and avoid those that don't cash flow. And the reason why cash flow is so important, and the reason why we chose rental properties that cash flow as our investment vehicle of choice, is that we wanted something that actually put money in our pocket every month. And the reason is that it's only cash pays the bills. Now, you could have a stock portfolio that's growing at a 30% rate of return, but what's different about a cash flowing rental and a stock portfolio is that you have to sell your stock and get rid of the asset in order for you to put that money in your pocket and pay bills, right? And let's say that you have unexpected repairs, or let's say you have unexpected personal expenses like you're furloughed because of COVID, right? Or let's say that you have a medical issue and you have to pay medical bills, right? Well, you have to have cash in order to pay those bills. A 30% rate of return doesn't pay those bills. And only after you sell those stocks can you actually free up the cash to pay those bills. And the problem is what if the stock is down? Right? Then you have to sell at a loss, right? And that's the big difference here between a cash flowing rental and a stock portfolio that's growing at 30%.
Yeah, and this is part of the reason that we really decided to get into cash flowing rentals in the first place, is we realized, both working full-time as physicians, that we were always going to be trading time for money and not have the ability to, let's say, both cut back to half time and travel. And what we needed to do was create this other source of income that came in every single month that was going to allow us to cut back on trading time for money. And so that's why we needed cash flow when we first started out, and that's how we chose rentals.
Yeah. But again, I just want to make the distinction that it's so different than putting your money in a 401k, investing in stocks. And again, the reason is that with those other types of investments, right, you actually have to sell the asset in order for you to get cash, right? Whereas with cash flowing rentals, the asset sits there and it's probably appreciating, but at the same time, it's also giving you cash flow, right? So it's very different than other investment vehicles. And I just wanted to make that distinction. Now, the one last point here is that cash flow is absolutely essential, but it's not the biggest component of return when investing in cash flowing rentals. The biggest component of return, in my mind, is the forced appreciation, the ability to take a property that's, let's say, a $200,000 duplex and forcing it to appreciate to $350,000 by increasing the cash flow of the property, right? And that's we're not going to get into that topic here, but I just wanted to point out that whereas cash flow is essential, it's not the biggest component of return.
Yeah, and tax and tax savings can be the second biggest
component of return.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly.
And cash flow being the third, actually.
Yep.
All right, and we're going to focus on the taxes here. Let's talk about how to lower your effective tax rate. Oops. Okay. Now, this is another really important concept, and we're really focusing on the most important concepts here. So the beauty of cash flow and cash flowing rentals is that the cash flow that you get from it's typically tax-free, right? So let's say you make $100,000 in cash flow. Well, that's the equivalent of, let's say, making $130,000 or $140,000 in W-2 income, because with W-2 income, that's pre-tax, right? And then you're paying taxes on it, and whatever's left over, maybe it's $100,000 after paying $40,000 in taxes, right? But with cash flow, you can make $100,000 in cash flow, and that's tax-free, and so that's the beauty of it, right? And so the question becomes, how do you cash flow from something and pay no taxes on it, right? Well, the reason is that what you put in your pocket or put in the bank is very different than what you file when you're filing your taxes. And so on the left here is what you put in your pocket. You have your rental income, you subtract out all your expenses, including your mortgage, and whatever's left over is what ends up in your bank account. But when you file your taxes, that's on the right-hand side. You still have that rental income, you have all your operating expenses, but on top of that, you have something called phantom expenses, which are basically a category of expenses which aren't true expenses. You're not actually paying for these expenses. An example of that is depreciation. And you want to explain depreciation?
Sure. So depreciation, basically, in a nutshell, is that the government sees your property as losing value every single year in their eyes. And your property may be actually appreciating and may be gaining value every year, but the government allows you nonetheless to write off a portion of that property as a loss. And that portion is called depreciation. Now, there is something called flatline depreciation and bonus depreciation. And quickly, flatline depreciation is you write off roughly 1/27th of your property's value each year, and that's the value of the building. And so you'll see that here this is flatline depreciation, 1/27th of the value of the building. There's something called bonus depreciation, which is something we do a lot, which is writing off the first 15 years of flatline depreciation in year one. And that creates a massive loss the year you buy the property. And we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah. And then there's two other categories I wanted to show you, one other category of phantom expenses, which are actually, these are things that do take money out of your pocket. But what you're doing is you're shifting stuff you're already paying for, like phone and internet, and you're shifting it to the business, right? And then the home office deduction, that actually is a phantom expense where you're just designating part of your house that you set aside for the real estate business, and you're able to write that off.
And there are actually other phantom expenses that you could potentially create. So a lot of our students will buy properties in, let's say, Vegas, because they like to go to Vegas. Well, when they're traveling to see their properties, that's a write-off. And now they're flying to Vegas, and it's a cost for their business. Another example is Kenji and I just bought a new car. And, it's 100% going to be for our business this year. But that actually, we can take 100% bonus depreciation and write off that cost of that car off of our business this year.
Right. All right. And so let's talk about how you can lower your effective tax rate with cash flowing rentals, right? And so let's say that half your income is from tax-free cash flow, which you're paying a 0% tax rate on, and then $100,000 of your income is W-2, which when you take the effective tax rate, it's going to be 20% on 150,000. I just put that in a tax calculator. And so the blended rate of that is 10%. So you've essentially cut your tax rate in half. Now, there's something actually, that you can kind of actually get an even greater benefit from cash flowing rentals if you claim something called real estate professional status. And what that is that in our situation, what I do is I cut back to half-time when we first got started, and eventually just to moonlighting. And that was one of the keys to achieving real estate professional status, which one of the requirements is real estate has to be your primary profession. So cutting back was really important for me. And the other criteria is that you have to put in a certain number of hours. 750 hours is the minimum that you have to put into real estate. Now, I'm the real estate professional and Letizia continue to work clinically, but what that allows us to do is, being a real estate professional, you're able to take all the losses from real estate and shelter clinical income or other W-2 or 1099 income. And what we do every year is we say, okay, how much income is Letizia going to be making? And let's create a plan to shelter all that income and pay zero income taxes on her income. And so using that, the previous example, 150,000 of tax-free cash flow, which you're not paying taxes on. And then let's say you still have that 150,000 of W-2 income, but now what you're doing is, because of real estate professional status, you're taking $150,000 worth of losses and using that to shelter that 150,000 of W-2 income.
Yeah, and the way you create extra losses, so beyond just, the losses you saw in the previous screen, is actually you do things like 100% bonus depreciation, which is take the first 15 years of depreciation in year one. And that, like, the back of the envelope is that usually saves you about 25% of the cost of the property in taxes. So, creates a shelter of that size. So for example, if you buy $1 million property, roughly you can write off $250,000 as a loss that year using bonus depreciation. So you can imagine all it takes is buying one property to shelter your entire clinical income if you have one property, if you have real estate professional and you have only 150,000 in income coming in. And then the other thing you can do is rehab projects. And so we fix up a lot of our properties, and a lot of that rehab we can actually write off, and that rehab actually increases the cash flow as well. So our properties perform better.
All right. And this is an example, right? How do you create those big losses? And so this is actually pulled right from our tax return. And so this property, kind of using that formula that Letizia was talking about, what we're able to do here was create $129,000 loss just from bonus depreciation, right? And what Letizia was saying is that you could also, if we also did renovations on this, you'd have this category here of repairs, which would further add to the losses. And so in this example, we just had bonus depreciation, and this property, was worth, let's say, about $500,000. And so bonus depreciation created $129,000 bonus depreciation loss. And therefore, what we were able to do was we created $128,000 loss from this. And that's what we can use to shelter $128,000 worth of W-2 income from just one property. Right? This is just one of our properties. And so again, that's how you create these losses. And again, in this situation, this $129,000 is a phantom loss. It's not a true loss. We didn't spend $129,000 to create this loss.
Yeah. And this is how we shelter our income every year from paying taxes.
Right. Okay. So that kind of wraps things up here. And we wanted to kind of share that you can learn more about this from our blog or podcast. You can also sign up for Zero to Freedom through Cash Flowing Rentals. And here is the link to kind of sign up if you're interested. All right. So we're going to
hand it back to Dana.
Hand it back to Donna.
Yeah. All right. Love it. Thank you so much. We have people watching. Everyone's a little shy. So I've got questions to ask you for them. Let me just bring them up. So excuse me while I look. Let's let's do this one first. I'm actually going to share the screen for this one for a particular reason. Hopefully it comes off. Please let me know if this doesn't work, but let's share this of application window, Chrome tab. Let's see. Here we go. Oh, you know what? It's not working. There's no volume on it. Oh, here it is.
Like sit there and they make money.
One sec. Let's start it again.
Oh, that's my old version.
Yeah, that's right.
But that's not what we've chosen to do. We actually are very, very involved in our real estate. We are always thinking creatively about how to make more money, how to put out a better product for our renters. And so we've chosen to be very involved in real estate. And part of that also is because we wanted this tax status called real estate professional tax status, which Kenji got very early on in our journey. And that's allowed us to basically have our real estate shelter all of our income so we pay no income taxes.
All right. So let me stop sharing that particular one. Okay, so the question is from that, I really liked that you said you get creative in your investing. So I was curious, how does one get creative in their investing? Is it more the cash flow part where you're figuring out the numbers creative, or is it in picking out the properties that you're getting creative?
So many ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. Okay. Well, let's just start. Yeah, let's just start throwing out some different ways, right? So you want to?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of our time is spent obviously picking out properties, but once we have them, actually we think a lot about how to make them perform better. And so some of the things we do, so we've rented out detached garages to other renters who were not the renters for our property because we were able to get more money that way. Kenji's actually done this really cool thing where he outlined the different parts of the property and said, this is this tenant's responsibility. This is this tenant's responsibility. That excluded our landscaping costs because now the tenants, when they went to sign their leases, they had to say, this is my responsibility, this part of the land. He actually had pictures taken of what the land looked like when it was landscaped. And he said, if it doesn't look like this, we're going to hire a landscaper and charge you back. And this is part of their lease that they're signing. Yeah. We build storage units and we rent those out. I mean, the list goes on and on and on, but we're always thinking creatively of how to increase income and decrease expenses.
Yeah, I think it goes beyond that, right? I mean, I'm the more structured kind of thinker here. So let me kind of just kind of create a framework, right? When you think about a product, right? You can create a better product, right? That's just, and don't even think about rentals, right? But think of rentals as a product. You can create a better product. That's one way of making more money, right? Another way to do it is you can go find a different customer for that product, somebody who's willing to pay more for that same product, right? And so what Letizia was talking about was like improving the product, right? One of the ways we can improve our product is create different features like, hey, here's a storage you can rent, right? Another way of doing it is you can actually improve the product by rehabbing it. And therefore, you're making it such a higher quality product that people are willing to pay more for it, right? Mm-hmm. But then let's talk about finding a different customer, right? Well, what we do is we found a different customer. We found people with intellectual disabilities need housing. And so when we provide housing for them, they're actually willing to pay more for it. Plus they pay the utilities. Plus you don't need property management because there's actually an agency, not a state agency, but the state pays for a third party to find tenants' homes. Mm. And they chose our home. And so we found a different customer for our, and there are a lot of programs like providing respite housing would be one example. You can provide housing there's actually a program here in Seattle providing housing for women who just got out of jail, right? And they provide rooms for rent, right? So there's so many different ideas for improving your product, but also finding a different customer for your product. And these are just two ways of doing it. And then we haven't even talked about other customers, right? Other customers could be short-term rentals. You use that same product as a short-term rental, right? So you're totally different customer base, right? And so there's a lot of different ways of getting creative.
Nice.
I really love that. It resonates with me because I do the same thing with branding. So
Yeah.
we're really just doing similar things. We're just taking different products, right? You guys are taking your properties and you're sort of figuring out how to play around with it. And I'm taking physicians and their brands and playing around with it. And it's kind of, not that we're products, but that's what we mean when we say that we're intellectual property, is that you're trying to explain to people that it's packaged like a product, and now you're shaping that product in different ways.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to explain it too, because another thing we do is actually marketing our product differently. And so we used to, just let our property manager put up pictures of our units, but they would just do these crappy pictures with that, were dark colored and didn't really capture it. And so Kenji now gets professional photographers to go out there, and then he'll take it to actually this thing called, it's called virtual staging, where you actually take a picture and you put in restoration hardware furniture. It's $25 a picture. And so that's literally what we're posting online, and people can see the vision of living there. So
I love it. Too. I love it because I'm into aesthetics. Again, not from a vanity perspective, but from what sells. And so that's a key in marketing, is sort of to give your audience what they want. Because, right, like an audience wants to see a beautifully furnished apartment, even if their apartment is not going to have the restoration hardware material in it. Realistically, you're wanting to sell that. So it also applies to brands. And this is actually interesting you said that, because it's why I'm starting a template version of SoMe in that I'm creating templates, because I know one of my strengths is creating great aesthetics, and doctors can't always, recreate those. Here are templates. You now can put yourself in them. Bam, you've got a personalized way of shining in like a new someone else's template. So that's great. That's great. Okay, next question is, do you think that doctors should invest locally rather than out of state?
Yeah, so there's a lot of ways to think about this. It kind of depends on your goals, right? I think we always start with goals, just to understand what it is that you're going for, right? And I think in general, if people are looking for cash flow, then of course we think you can cash flow anywhere, but you may have to change your strategy, right? In other words, if you want to, I was telling you, the program for women who just got out of prison, right? That property that the couple actually rents out to women, that cash flow is like crazy, but it's a very, very different customer base, right? You're going up to, right? And so now, if you're just going for the traditional long-term rental, right, then certain markets are going to be easier to cash flow, right? And so if you're going for like a multifamily property in a kind of a working class neighborhood, then you may want to go more to the middle of the country or the southern part of the country, where the prices are a lot more affordable. And so that again depends on your goals, right? But if you want to create a short-term rental portfolio, then you're not going to go probably to the middle of the country. You're going to want to go to where the population is and where the population wants to vacation, and that's where you're going to buy your properties. And will those cash flow? Yeah, you can make them cash flow by being the best short-term rental on the block and becoming a super host.
Yeah, I think another part of the balance is risk and risk tolerance. And so, like, for example, if you have a whole bunch of short-term rentals in one city in Florida, your concentration risk is higher, right? Rather than if you invest in 5 different markets in long-term rentals that are BC class, like that's a lot more stable. And so a little bit is going to depend on the risk tolerance of the individual. We have mostly long-term multifamily rentals. We have a few single family homes, but a lot of duplexes and fourplexes. And we just added a short-term rental to our portfolio this year. But, for us, that's a little bit higher risk, but we're willing to kind of make that move now in our portfolio. But we have other students who, want the tax breaks this year, and, maybe they're not going to achieve real estate professional. Maybe they don't, have the time or money, or a spouse who's interested in it, you know, they may just decide to do a local short-term rental and, you know, manage it themselves and take all that depreciation on that one property, rehab it, take that as a loss, and furnish it and take that as a loss, and create, you know, 100,000 or 200,000 tax shelter this year, without having a real estate professional. So it really depends on the person as well and their long-term goals. You know, are you trying to create a short-term loss on your taxes this year, or in 5 years, do you want to be completely retired from medicine and have 300 in cash flow coming in? Totally different, you know, goals. And so it will lead you to do different things.
True.
Absolutely.
True.
That's true. And again, another metaphor, it's just like when you're building your brand, you can pick different platforms to build it on. So I really love how metaphorically similar those are. For those of you that are just joining in, Letty and Kenji are joining us. They're a dual physician family that make up Semi-Retired MD. That's their brand name. And they have a course that's opening up very soon. The wait list is going on, and there's going to be an offer that we're going to make at the end of this to hopefully get some of you to sign up, because it's not offered very frequently. And here's actually someone who chose to give a testimonial. Now, it doesn't say who it is here, but if you actually look wherever they're commenting, either YouTube or on our Facebook group where this is airing live, I'm airing this into 3 places. This person said, I completed this course in August and already have 5 doors that are cash flowing. So what a nice way to live testimonial this. Thank you so much for whoever wrote that. Again, there's no name because they haven't given permission to StreamYard. All right. Great. Next question. Oh, her name is Tracy Verico. Fabulous. Tracy. Right. And she actually is not far from me in Jersey. So thank you for that, John. I appreciate it. You can also let outside agency manage your doors and write off that expense. Okay. Fab. Always great to hear from the audience. Okay. Share the screen for the next question. Once again, yet another little fun. Let's see this one. All right. Let's share the screen, and we're going to out of here, and we're going to, guys, if you're not on Instagram following SoMeDocs, for those of you out there, please do. We got some really cool videos coming and some great graphics and just cool stuff. So here's now Kenji speaking. When you use the word cash flow, what are you exactly referring to? Also for the people that are going to be listening that don't know what cash flow means.
Yeah, so cash flow is money that you put in your pocket. It's you take the rental income and you subtract out all the expenses, you know, and expenses are like things like property management or your mortgage or your taxes, your insurance, and you subtract all that out. And at the end of the day, the goal would be to have some cash flow, some money left over. And that's different from what you actually, when you file your taxes, and this is kind of what Letizia was saying with the real estate professional. The cool thing about real cash flowing rentals is you can cash flow, put money in your pocket, but on your tax returns, you can show a loss. And that loss is what we use to shelter clinical income or blog income or any 1099 income. And so that combination is really the benefit of cash flowing rentals.
When you use the word, all right, we'll stop that now because we just saw it. All right. Love it. You guys are stars.
We sound the same.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, your brand has grown. How about that? Since then, that was a year ago for those watching, and you can actually see that video on my YouTube. Now we've got a SoMeDocs YouTube. Nice. Before I ask the next question, I just want everybody to know that if you want to actually physically click into their course, and again, soon there's going to be an offer made from SoMeDocs that hopefully will convince you to do this because it's going to be a no-brainer. I just want to show everybody how to do it. So guys, do you mind if we just go through the motions of having people sign up? So let me share the screen on that so everyone can see how to sign up. Let's just say, here we go. Okay, can you see the SoMeDocs website, guys? Mm-hmm. Great. I just want to make sure it's working. All right. So when you go to our website, when you go to resources for doctors and you go to other resources for doctors, click into conferences/courses for doctors. And Letty and Kenji's course is actually the top one that comes up. Just click into it And in there is both some information about it, as well as our old interview for those of you that want to kind of get more on this from our interview last year. And then the offers right here. You could just click sign up here or sign up on the top, and it will take you straight to their sign up right here. And right now it's the wait list. So I'm going to be asking them a few more questions now, but just to, let me remove that. I just removed you guys. Wait. There we go. And then stop screen sharing. Okay. Sorry, guys. There's a lot of buttons.
No, it's okay. Actually, can I tell people a little bit about the wait list? Because
absolutely,
I think it's probably confusing to people.
Yes.
So our course sales actually don't start until December 12th, but the wait list is where people sign up and we give them extra value along the way. And so you get emails with us giving you education a couple times a week. There's a pop-up Facebook group for people on the wait list only, and you can join that, and then we'll answer your questions in there. So there's a couple hundred people in there. We're answering questions, doing videos, and then we do a live Q&A every week just for our wait list. And so we're giving you an opportunity to sit down and ask your questions now and start learning. And then lastly, we're going to open up the pre-course to people on the wait list for 3 days before the course actually is open for sales. So you can get a preview of what the course is like. And then the waitlist gets $300 discount if they buy December 12th or the 13th. So there's a lot of benefits of being on the waitlist. And so that's why we, start talking about it even several weeks before the course even opens.
I love it. I think you guys are paving the way. And here's a little something interesting is I'm opening up a course as well soon. It's called the SoMeDocs Experience, both for incubators and for masterminds, since there's two different spaces where doctors could be, right? They could be pre-idea or idea to brand versus they could be brand forward. And so I'm opening that up. And I have to say that I also am sort of shaping it in a waitlist idea, just like you guys. You guys also inspired me. I think that's the beauty of having physician brands online, is we all sort of look at each other and learn. We just do it on our niche. So I thank you guys for that, for giving me that idea. And I think it's just such a deal for people to take the course with you and actually learn from people that have done it themselves. There's so much power in it. And I might as well say it now that if you guys who are watching use the SoMeDocs link, it is the cost of the course is not any more expensive than it isn't. And if you use our link, again, you could do it through the website. You don't have to do it through here. But if you use our link, you get a free year membership to SoMeDocs. So check those out. We're getting a lot more members now. We've sweetened the deal. We've made it awesome. So a year worth, which is $288 right now. You get a whole bunch of things. Check it out on our website. I think it's a no-brainer, but please reach out to me or to Semi-Retired MD and ask any specifics. So the question is, you know what? Let me. How much time do we have? Let's do two more questions. That other question should be what we close off with. I don't know if you're comfortable answering this. I really don't. I shy away from politics very much so, but from a real estate perspective, how do you foresee the new administration affecting real estate investing, if at all?
It's a great question. It's a really, really great question.
It's Jared Coriel's question, my husband, this one. You're like, that's why it's so brainy.
Good for him. Good for him. Yeah, I mean, as he knows, there are a lot of things that the new administration has suggested changes they'd like to see made. Some people have mentioned 1031 exchanges, which are ways of basically turning over properties tax deferred and going bigger and bigger over time, potentially going away, or people worry that real estate professional tax status may go away. There are a lot of concerns. Bonus depreciation is another one. Trump actually started 100% bonus depreciation about, I guess it was 2017. So people worry about that as well. We don't know what's going to happen. I mean, that's the easy answer, right? We don't know what's going to happen, right? There's certainly what the president will want versus, what the Congress will actually do. Who knows?
Right.
What gives me great, I guess, kind of comfort is actually knowing that it's crazy, but we're in this group of billionaire, millionaire real estate investors, in the country who have so much lobbying pull. It's crazy. And so, I guess it makes me worry a lot less because I know the power of real estate investing and what it does for wealth. And I know that so many really wealthy people with influence have real estate that it makes me worry less. And that's my answer. I don't know what you have to say.
Yeah, no, I think it was a great answer. I don't have too much more to add to that, other than just to say that, maybe the question also could be, what will happen to real estate? I mean, with everything else that's going on with COVID and whatnot, do we foresee, things dropping? Because right now it's still a seller's market. I mean, it hasn't changed. I mean, it's still sellers are in charge. They're dictating the prices. We haven't seen the drops that we expected in pricing, in large part actually because we haven't seen there hasn't been a significant drop in people not paying rent, right? People are actually still paying rent, and occupancy and payment rates are still really high, and therefore sellers have kind of had the power to maintain the prices that they're looking to sell at. But I do think that there's going to be some softening. We have heard in certain pockets of the country that there's going to be some softening in terms of the prices. So I think that's going to create a lot of opportunity. We're actually really excited about it. Now, whether it happens or not, it doesn't actually change what we do day to day. It's not like we're sitting on the sidelines. We're still continuing to buy deals, but we do see that there could be some more opportunities in the next 6 to 9 months. Which is what people have been saying for the last 6 to 9 months, like, 6 to 9 months from now, it's going to be great, which is now, right? But things are the same. But I do think that, maybe 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, maybe there might be some softening in prices, better prices, more opportunity. So I think it's a really great time to actually get in right now, because just looking back at the worst recession for real estate back in 2007, a few years after that, during that period, right after that period, was a really great time to actually get into the market, where a lot of people were kind of running away, right? So,
I think the key really is things go through cycles, right? The stock market goes through cycles. So does real estate, right? It's not going to always go up. There are going to be times that go down as well. And the key is if you have cash flow, if you're making money from your property, if you have some increase in vacancy, you're still cash flowing. If you have a multifamily, if you have a single family, you're not cash flowing, and that's not good. Hopefully you have some reserves. But because of the cash flow, because you bought it right in the beginning, you can weather the storm, you can get through it. And when things get better and prices come back up, you've made it through that period of time. The bad situation is banking on appreciation and hoping the market's going to go up and just being cash flow negative. And then things get bad and you lose your renter, then you're in trouble. And that's when you have to sell at a reduced price and somebody will come in like us and buy it, right? And so I think that's just another point. Make sure you have cash flow. Make sure you're buying properties right. Don't buy properties ever on emotion. It's all about the numbers with real estate investing.
Fabulous. And that's true for business as well. And I learned that, the hard way all the time is don't let emotions mix into business
decision making. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Okay. A perfect question to sort of wrap things up with is, I'm a doctor and I want it. I want what you're describing as cash flow. Where do I start?
Take our course.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure. That's where I was going with that, really.
Well, it's what I will say is that in terms of a starting point, I do think that kind of looking back and learning from what we did, right? When we started, we didn't have mentorship. We didn't have somebody laying out, here's kind of the step by step, right? And so we kind of stumbled along and figured things out, made some mistakes. Fortunately, because I think between the two of us, we had really good decision making. We were able
veto power.
Yeah. We each have veto power. We think through things together. And we try to make decisions without emotion. And so I think we've minimized the mistakes, but still, we could have done things better. And so I think that if we were to start without a course, I think one of the first things we would do is really try to find a mentor, right? Find somebody who's
Right.
done exactly what we want to do and model what they're doing. This is something that we learn from our coaching, right? We do a lot of coaching. That's exactly the same thing, right? It's like model what, success leaves clues, model what other people are doing, right? And so that probably be my number one.
Yeah, my number one, besides what he said, which I think is great, is actually knowing where you want to go.
Right.
For us, we knew that, we wanted to spend a lot of our time, let's say, in Europe. And so we needed to create this significant flow of cash flow. And we actually put a number on it, and we put a number of years we wanted. So we said we want 600,000 in cash flow in 7 years. And so then once we had that outcome, we had an emotional reason why, which is we want to spend time with our families. We want to spend time with our friends. We want to be good hosts. We want to have this community. Like, that was the emotional pull. Because if you don't have an emotional pull, like, you can take all the steps, but eventually you'll run out of steam. Right. You need that emotional pull to pull you forward. So I think knowing where you're going and why, and if you start there, then that will push you to take all those steps that he's talking about. Go get a mentor, read a lot of books, go take some action. All those things are really, really important. But first, have a why.
Fabulous. Fabulous. So much sort of cross-pollination between what I do with branding. Same thing. We focus first on your goal. Why are you even out there before we establish your brand? And then we move from there. But these are all really great points. And I love the mentorship aspect of it too. Again, I think I'm helping so many people to brand because I've been through all of the mistakes, and not that I know everything, but I know how to create content. I know all the branding concepts and things like that. So I think you take that and you apply it to real estate, and it's just so nice to be led by a team that has been there and done that, and maybe grow together, right? Okay, so to wrap things up, where can everyone find you? I mean, your bio is on our website already, and for those watching, so is your course. But is there just a quick link you could give us where everybody can find you?
Yeah, I think the easiest thing is find us on semiretiredmd.com. I think it's probably the easiest. There's information there where you can reach us, information to where we hang out. So we spend a lot of time in our different communities, right? So yeah, I think probably starting at the blog is probably the best place, really. That'll lead you to the podcast if you want to listen to that. So yeah, I think that's a good place to go. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, I'm going to, with that, wrap it up. Letty and Kenji, thank you so much for joining me and for educating our public about what cash flow means, about your course, which if you're just tuning in, they are opening up yet again, just how many times a year do you guys open that thing?
Right now it's twice.
Twice a year.
We're thinking about 3 times, but right now it's twice.
Okay. So a lot of work goes into it, guys. That's why they don't do it very frequently. And so they really do dedicate their time to their students. And so if you are on the fence about joining the course and you have a question to them, or if you want to ask me about them, please feel free to do so at any time. And that's it. Guys, happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, Donna.
You too, yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
For having us.
Sure. And I'm going to remove you off the virtual stage. So for those of you that are still watching, thank you so much. You can check out the How to Physician series to see what other physicians are doing and what they've taught everybody else on their 1 hour. We've got lots more lives coming up, including our Samuel Shem special every Sunday at 6 p.m. He's the author of The House of God, and he's exclusively doing a series with SoMe Docs, which is so special. So that's great. And then again, Joe Fairless is coming on Tuesday, so at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard, in the Even Doctors Need Life Lessons series. So join us for all of those. Have a fabulous weekend. And we'll see you on Sunday night for Conversations with Shem. Bye, everybody.